Picking up on page 152. Someone came to fetch him just now, said a rider came from Hart with news this morning, and there's a great crowd at the blacksmith's shop. Can you see anything up the road, Judith? No, said Judith. The square seems quiet. I think it is something to do with that Governor Andros of Massachusetts, the one who is determined to take the charter away. Oh dear, your father will be so upset. Then let's get him a good dinner, suggested Judith practically. Don't worry, Mother. The men can take care of the government. Following them into the house, Kit felt gratefully the unpopular Andros. Whatever he had done, he had saved her, for the moment at least, from any more of Judith's questions. Matthew Wood did not come home for a good meal. For the good meal they had made ready. Late in the afternoon he came slowly into the kitchen. His shoulders sagged and he looked ill. What is it, Matthew? Rachel hovered over his chair. Has something terrible happened? Only what we have expected, he answered wearily. Governor Treat and the count have warded it off for nearly a year. Now Sir Edmund Andros has sent word 3 days since that he is setting out from Boston. He will arrive in Hartford on Monday to take over as Royal Governor in Connecticut. Lay a fire in the company room, he added. There are some who will want to talk tonight. One other chance bit of news reached them before nightfall. For all his haste, Captain Eaton had missed the wind after all, and the Dolphin lay calm just off Wright's Island. Kit took a revengeful pleasure in the thought. She hoped they had a good long wait ahead of them. It would serve Nat right if they sat there till the ice set in. He might perfectly well have delivered his own package, and she would make very sure of one thing. She would take care not to deliver it herself till the Dolphin was well on its way towards Saybrook. It means the death of our Commonwealth. This is chapter 15, page 153. It will be the end of all we've worked for. Hold on. Yeah. The angry voices came clearly through the closed door of the company room. It was impossible not to overhear. Mercy's spinning faltered, and Rachel's hand, lighting a pine knot, trembled so a spark fell on the table and heated and left a small black scar. Frequently in the past month the same grim-faced man had called upon Matthew Wood, but tonight the voices had a frightening quality. They must think it a desperate matter to meet like this on the eve of the Sabbath, said Mercy. Your father never touched his supper, fretted Rachel. Do you suppose it would do to offer them all a bite when they come home? When they come out? Kit dropped a stitch for the third time. She had little concern of the colony of Connecticut, but she was seething with curiosity over one aspect of tonight's business. Some time ago William had arrived, offered his usual courteous greetings to the women, and then, instead of taking his place by the fireside, had astounded her by knocking boldly on the company room door. More surprisingly still, he had been admitted, and there he had stayed behind the closed door for the past half-hour. Pride could not restrain her tongue another moment. What in the world is William doing in here? She burst out. Why would Uncle Matthew let him in? Didn't you know? Judith threw her a condescending glance. Now what? William came over to her father's way of thinking 2 months ago, even before his house was raised, when he had to pay such high taxes on his land. Now did Judith know that? Kit stared at her. I never heard him say a word about it. Judith, you just weren't listening. Judith's tone had more than a touch of smugness. Chagrined, Kit jerked at another stitch. It was true. Sometimes when William and Judith were talking about the house, it was all she could do to keep her mind from wandering. But she knew she would have to remembering anything as important as this. Was William ashamed to admit to her that he had turned against the king, or did he think she was too stupid to understand? The voices broke out again. This Governor Andros says right out that deeds signed by Injuns are no better than scratches of a bear's paw. We are all to pay new grants for land we bought and paid for. Why, the fees alone will leave us paupers. They can come into our meeting house and order us to kneel and whine tunes like the Church of England. My cousin is Boston actually had to put his hand on the holy book to swear in court. I'll shoot any man tries to make me do that." They could hear Matthew's voice, cold and steady, never raised out of control. "Whatever happens," he was saying, "we do not want any shooting here in Connecticut." "Why not?" broke in another voice. "Should we hand over our freedom without a murmur like Rhode Island?" I say defy him," came a hoarse shout. "9 trained bands we have ready in Hartford County, nigh to 1,000 men. Let him look into a row of muskets and he'll change his tune." "It would mean senseless bloodshed," Matthew said clearly. For nearly an hour the voices went on, the angry shouting gradually giving way to low tense words that could not be distinguished. Finally a silent, tight-mouthed group of men emerged with no interest in the refreshment that Rachel timidly offered. When they had gone, Matthew lowered himself heavily into a chair. Okay, that's 156.